We're going live on YouTube now. There we go. Looks like somebody was waiting. One person was waiting. Anyways, okay, so let's go get started. So this was sent in 08/20/2020, which means it was sent in August of 2020, roughly. That's how I do those dates. And I sent it to him, and I sent it to the Chief Judge of the Northern District. I sent it to Donald Trump, to William Barr, who was Attorney General, and Chuck Grassley, who was the Committee on the Judiciary Chairman at the time. So paragraph 1 says, you, Reed O'Connor, bought and paid for a clerk masquerading as a judge, are noticed that I normally accept your oath of office, but you and I both know you have no intention of honoring your oath of office, as evidenced by the application to proceed in district court without prepaying fees or costs, long form, that you love to assault people with, that has an affidavit attached thereto and incorporated therein, with my affidavit of corporate denial, together with pedigree charts that are attached thereto, which is recorded with the Pinal County Recorder at P number 2013-032373, which is now public policy and the unrebutted truth, a true copy of all of which is attached thereto, all of which is incorporated herein by reference in its entirety, and that you denied, thereby evidencing that you have no intention of honoring your oath of office. Oath, so fuck your oath, you lying, perjuring, treasonous, Satanist motherfucking son of a bitch. No disrespect to dogs intended. You, Reed O'Connor, bought and paid for a clerk masquerading as a judge, are noticed that your oath of office is to me as evidence in this statement of original status as follows. And I'm not going to go through all of this. We've gone through it before. But so it's basically my ancestry. I affirm that I, GlennWinningham, House of Fern, of the Adamic race, as a white Christian male, and I do not now, nor would I ever voluntarily give up my unalienable, which means cannot be taken away, God-given, constitutionally secured Christian rights and responsibilities. Anyways, for I, GlennWinningham Fern, have never knowingly given up my birthright as a direct descendant of the posterity, as noted in the preamble of both the Arizona State Constitution, 1905, and the Constitution for the United States of America, 1788, and its Bill of Rights, 1791, and also designated in the Declaration of Independence, 1776, for and because my fifth great-grandparents were James J. House of Winningham and Sarah Nichols House of Winningham, whose grave sites and gravestones are clearly marked and now stand as an at-law public notice of their once existence and their judicial power citizenship status, which was passed on to me as an inheritance because James J. House of Winningham was naturally given birth in the year 1756, living on the land now known as Prince George County in the Virginia colony, which ultimately became Virginia State, a state in the Union States of America under the Articles of Confederation, 1781, and the Constitution for the Republic of the United States of America. Whereas James J. House of Winningham, given birth in the year 1756, and Sarah Nichols, House of Winningham, given birth in the year 1760, were joined in the state of holy wedlock on the year 1792, and were living on the land now known as Randolph County, Virginia, a state in the Union States of America. And these pioneers were the people who were part, process, and action that eventually led to the establishment of the Statehood Enabling Acts of Congress. In other words, 1796 for Tennessee, 1821 for Missouri, 1905 for Arizona, which then allowed the 5,000 free white males within the boundaries, then designated as territories, to create said states as found in the pedigree chart, which is attached hereto, and the verified abstract declaration and order, which is recorded with the Canal Recorder at P number 2005-028178, which is the unrebutted truth and public policy, all of which are incorporated herein by reference in their entirety. And then that right of blood and kindred cannot be destroyed by any civil law. It's a maxim of law. All bar members, judges, officers of my court, and anyone else who has an oath of office holds their oath of office to me, and your court is my property. And because it brings into action and enforces this great and glorious principle that the people are the sovereign of this country, and consequently that fellow citizens and joint sovereigns cannot be degraded by appearing with each other in their own courts to have their controversies determined. And you are required to protect my rights. It is true that at common law, the duty of the Attorney General is to represent the king, he being the embodiment of the state, but under the democratic form of government now prevailing, the people are king, so the Attorney General's duties are to that sovereign rather than to the machinery of government. Because my ancestors were in the colony of Virginia, the colony of North Carolina, the colony of Georgia, the colony of South Carolina, the colony of Maryland, prior to the War of Independence, pursuant to maxims of law, since my ancestors wrote the Constitution for the United States of America and the Articles of Confederation, which means they were written under my authority, and all bar members, judges, and officers of my court who hold an oath of office derived their authority to do anything from the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution of the United States, the Articles of Confederation, and the Northwest Ordinance. And the power which is derived cannot be greater than that from which it is derived. And none of your edicts under martial law, civil laws, statutes, codes, rules, and regulations have any authority over me. The right of blood and kindred cannot be destroyed by any civil law. But in fact, in the law, such statutes are intended to be applied against those who are here as residents in the state under the Interstate Commerce Clause of the Federal Constitution and the so-called 14th Amendment, United States versus United Mine Workers, and evidencing of me following any statute, code, rule, or regulation should be taken as a courtesy only, because my ancestors wrote the Constitution for the United States of America, as evidence in the statement of original status herein, and the pedigree charts which are attached hereto and incorporated herein by reference in its entirety, and that is in the affidavit of corporate denial, together with the pedigree charts which are attached hereto, which is recorded in the Pinal County Recorder at fee number 2013-032373, which is now public policy and the unrebutted truth, true copy of which is attached hereto, all of which is incorporated herein by reference in its entirety. It is impossible for any bar member, judge, or officer of my court to accuse me of anything without perjuring his oath of office, because my ancestors authored the Constitution for the United States of America, which is the source of the authority of the government to operate. Sovereignty itself is, of course, not subject to law, for it is the author and source of law. But in our system, while sovereign powers are delegated to the agencies of government, the sovereignty itself remains with the people, by whom and for whom all government exists and acts. Which means you operate under my authority. A sovereign is exempt from suit not because of any formal conception or obsolete theory, but on the logical and practical ground that there can be no legal right as against the authority that makes the law on which the right depends. And you're required to protect my rights and my property. And that's that Attorney General case again. And the bar members in this case, Joe Cooley, Aaron Neely Cox, Brian W. Stoll, Stephen A. Lund, Sharon Wilson, M. Keith Ogle, have perjured their oath, and you so-called judges are in bad behavior, as evidence in this case, as evidence in the statement of original status. That's the affidavit of corporate denial, together with the pedigree charts that are attached here too. There's a lot of repetition. But you and I both know, all of which is incorporated here in its entirety, but you and I both know you have no intention of honoring your oath, as evidenced by the fact that you and your bar member pig buddies in the FBI and the U.S. Attorney Office refuse to enforce your felony statutes unless you have some political agenda, and you intend to engage in warfare on me, and it's with your approval and endorsement, because I should know better than to think you bar scum would honor your oath of office, as evidenced by the application to proceed in district court without prepaying fees or costs, long form, that you love to assault people with, that has an affidavit attached thereto and incorporated therein, and my corporate denial affidavit, which is now the unrebutted truth and public policy, thereby evidencing you have no intention of honoring your oath, and as an officer of the court, you're required to know the law. You lying, perjuring, Satanist motherfucking son of a bitch. No disrespect to dogs intended. So this kind of goes on and on. A lot of the same stuff here. And that you have denied, thereby evidencing you have no intention of honoring your oath as an officer of my court, and you're required to know the law. You lying, perjuring, Satanist motherfucking son of a bitch. No disrespect to dogs intended. You, Rita O'Connor, bought and paid for a clerk masquerading as a judge, and notice that it's impossible for you to accuse me of anything without perjuring your oath, because my ancestors authored the Constitution Same court cases. All of that's repeated again. And you intend that your Texas bar member buddy subject me to the deprivation of my right under color of your vexatious litigant codes that you refuse to enforce unless you have a political agenda or you intend to engage in warfare on me, because I should know better than to think you bar scum would honor your oath as evidenced by the application and as evidenced by all that stuff we talked about. Thereby evidencing you have no intention of honoring your oath as an officer of my court and are deemed to know the law, you lying, perjuring, Satanist motherfucking son of a bitch. Paragraph 7. So there's basically, how many pages? 7, 9, 10, 11 paragraphs so far. It's talking about you bought and paid for a clerk masquerading as a judge, or notice that your coward DHS, DPS pigs and your coward border pigs and your various coward city pigs and your coward U.S. Marshal pigs and your coward sheriff pigs and your coward FBI pigs have breached the peace hundreds of times while operating in their private capacity as revenue officers under the Federal Tax Lien Act, and their unlawful arrests when I had not breached the peace and there was no lawful court order. So who's making all the noise here?
There's our big boy right there. There's the big swinging.
Somebody needs to be muted.
That's done.
Thank you.
But I think you're being too kind, actually.
I probably am. But at any rate, you know, you have to spell it out. Anyway, so you, Reed O'Connor, bought and paid for a clerk masquerading as a judge, and notice that your U.S. Congress pigs have given your coward DHS, DPS pigs and your coward border pigs and your coward U.S. Marshal pigs and your coward FBI pigs and your various coward city pigs the right to assault, kidnap, falsely imprison, and even murder anybody they want as long as they do it in good faith. And this is 18 U.S.C. Section 2707 Civil Action. Says here, a good faith reliance upon a court order, court warrant or order, a grand jury subpoena, legislative authorization, or a statutory authorization, including a request of a governmental entity under Section 2703F of this title, a request of an investigative or law enforcement officer under Section 2518.7 of this title, or a good faith determination that Section 2511.3 of this title permitted the conduct complained of, is a complete defense to any civil or criminal action brought under this chapter or any other law. And the same thing applies in the Texas region of your criminal corporation. And this is Texas Code of Criminal Procedure. No evidence obtained by an officer or other person in violation of the provisions of the constitutional laws of the state of Texas or the constitutional laws of the United States of America shall be admitted in evidence against the accused on the trial of any criminal case. And then this fucking crap. It is an exception to the provisions of subsection A of this article that the evidence was obtained by a law enforcement officer acting in objective good faith reliance upon a warrant issued by a neutral magistrate based on probable cause. And the same thing applies in your Arizona region of your criminal corporation. So it's a similar stuff. The restraint was accomplished by a peace officer or detention acting in good faith upon lawful performance of his duty. So anyways, you lying Satanist motherfucking son of a bitch. So this is page 10 now. So I kind of just rail on him about all sorts of stuff. Page 11. This was done in 2020, and I've kind of tweaked them and improved upon them since then. Made them a little bit more concise. It's hard to say if they're more concise or not. But anyways, says, I'm entitled to a Republican form of government under your Constitution that you completely ignore unless you have a political agenda or you intend to engage in warfare on me. And a Republican form of government fails to include any star chambers, and a Republican form of government fails to include any statutes, codes, rules, or regulations, because all statutes, codes, rules, and regulations are edicts under martial law. which only apply. It's actually only applied to subjects of the enemy and aliens under international law. And a Republican form of government fails to include any bought and paid for clerks masquerading as judges. And which means I have a common law right to travel with my private property on the public highway guaranteed under Article 9 and Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America that you completely ignore unless you have a political agenda or you intend to engage in warfare on me. And you, Reed O'Connor, the bought and paid for clerk masquerading as a judge, are busy imposing your Euless pig buddies and your Grapevine pig buddies and your Bedford pig buddies military despotism on me, because I should know better than to think that your bar member scum would honor your oath of office as evidenced by the application to proceed, and all that. We already went through that. And you have no intention of honoring your oath as an officer of my court, and you're required to know the law. You lying, perjuring, Satanist motherfucking son of a bitch. So that's item number 15, and this is page 15. And this one talks about false arrest. Somebody say something?
Oh, I was just joking with you, brother. I was saying, why don't you tell us how you really feel?
There you go.
No, I was just gonna say to Glenn, I wish I could put that in my writing.
It'd be nice to be a fly on the wall when they're reading that thing,
Oh, I want to operate the Zoom button for you for free on your Zoom call appeal. No problem.
So
I'll drop them for you.
So now we're 16, 17. You, Reed O'Connor, bought and paid for a clerk masquerading as a judge, know that I have a right to resist an unlawful arrest with lethal force if necessary, and I shall be heavily armed, and I shall exercise my right to resist any unlawful arrest by your coward pigs, and your coward border pigs, and your coward marshal pigs, and your coward FBI pigs, and your coward city pigs, and your coward sheriff pigs, because I should know better than to think you bar scum would honor your oath of office as evidenced by the application, and so we read that already. You lying, perjuring, Satanist motherfucking son of a bitch. So, and this is a court case that I filed. Your buddy Cummings dismissed case number 413-CV-576. He assaulted me with his U.S. citizen slave. You'd think that judge would know about this. I'll bet he does. I'll bet he's expecting something like this to come. You lying, perjuring, Satanist motherfucking son of a bitch. No disrespect to dogs intended. You, Reed O'Connor, bought and paid for a clerk masquerading as a judge. As notice, you've demonstrated you intend to assault me with your international laws accomplished to your bought and paid for a Roman cult bar member whore McBride. To dismiss, McBride's dead, by the way. He's died. To dismiss
so you're going to take his name out of there then?
Sorry?
Maybe you should take his name. If he's dead, maybe you should take his name out of there.
No, well, this I already sent to him. This is my copy of what I sent to him way back when. Matter of fact, you'll like what the clerk sent me. Anyways, I'll show you here in a minute. So, you lying, perjuring, Satanist motherfucking son of a bitch, no disrespect to dogs intended. You'll notice that your FedEx thieves have assaulted me for the crimes of your fraudulently created Sestake trust. I could go through all of that. Anyways, you lying, perjuring, Satanist motherfucking son of a bitch. Notice that you're a Roman cult bar member whore McNamee and others and their accomplices in their war crimes. They coerced me to give evidence against myself, sent my wife into exile because she failed to be a U.S. citizen or have permission with a green card when they knew she's still an American national. So your U.S. border pigs can convert a right into a privilege by holding my wife and sons and daughter hostage until I agree to their U.S. citizen slave status by allowing them to convert a right into a privilege when I make application for their green card. You lying, perjuring, Satanist motherfucking son of a bitch. This one.
They held your family at the border?
They actually had to stay in Canada for a period of time. And ultimately what we did is we just brought them across, and my wife came across by herself with the kids, and she just told them she was coming down to visit me, and they gave her a special visa, And then when she got down there, she called up the immigration service, and the immigration service, you can throw that thing in the garbage. That thing's a bunch of garbage. Don't even worry about it. And you don't have to leave. so so there's good people in the government too. And they told her, you don't have to leave. You're married to an American. Yeah. Anyways.
Hey, Glenn.
Yeah, they just love to give you bullshit. They're doing that same thing about dog registration right now for going into America. There's no laws or anything, but it's just suggested. So, of course, go out and spend $500 because it's suggested for Canada.
Yeah, no doubt.
Hey, Glenn. I've never heard the expression Adamic race. I assume it's reference to Adam.
Yeah.
But it's the first time I've ever heard that.
Well, it's basically white people, but what's white? I don't know, my attitude. If you read those old court cases, it says the Constitution, Dred Scott versus Sanford, there's other cases that talk about it. The Constitution's written for white people. And I think that's completely a bunch of crap because it was some of our first presidents were black. So I think it's a bunch of Masons trying to divide and conquer. They're Satanists. You see what I'm saying? But the simple fact of the matter is that the court cases do say that, and so that's why I have it in there.
Well, I do know that here in Florida, our 1838 Constitution is written for white men.
Well, and what it says, 42, Title 42, USC 1983, or no, 1982, I think it's 1982, it says that U.S. citizens shall have all the rights and privileges of white citizens. Says it right in the code, really? Even to this day.
Your use of the word pig, that if I remember correctly, pig has a meaning and thug has a meaning.
Well,
elaborate on those?
PIG is an acronym.
That's what I thought.
PIG is an acronym. It stands for persons in government that intend to perjure their oath.
What does thug mean?
It's not an acronym as far as I know.
I'd heard it was, but I just...
Okay, I'm going to step aside for a minute. I'll be right back.
Okay. I haven't laughed so hard in a long time. You lying fucking son of a bitches. No disrespect to dogs intended. Oh my God. Blows me away is that he actually puts the stuff in the documents and sends it to people. Definitely gets the point across.
Okay, so I'm back. So anyways, I kind of rail on him. You know, it always ends, you lying, perjuring, Satanist motherfucking son of a bitch. You lying, perjuring, this is 21.
This is 11 pages of this, right?
22 pages so far. This is where it talks about the minor estate. This talks about his oath of office. You lying, perjuring, treasonous, Satanist motherfucking son of a bitch. No disrespect to dogs intended.
Are you just cutting and pasting that throughout the document?
That's usually how it starts out, and then I sometimes emphasize different ones and more than other ones, you know. But you lying, perjuring, treasonous, Satanist, motherfucking son of a bitch. That's why I say I think they know me. I'm positive they know who they're dealing with. You lying, treasonous, Satanist, motherfucking son of a bitch.
What's the red ink that I keep seeing on the left hand?
That's a seal.
Right hand bottom.
What I do is I put a line. I seal it. That means I own that document. See here, it says this matter text copyright by the title owner. All right to this material text, what it may represent is by terms and conditions of the title owner, and then it says title owner is me, and I seal it. So that word is seal. That's my initials, and that's in the bottom, in the margins on the bottom right hand side. Every page has that. You lying, perjuring, treasonous, Satanist, motherfucking son of a bitch. No disrespect to dogs intended. Paragraph 33, page 26.
You should get a ring and do it in wax, like in the old days. Stamp your ring into the wax and seal it.
Paragraph 36 talks about the martial law. Martial law only affects subjects of the enemy and aliens. Military jurisdictions of two kinds. It's all martial law. Kangaroo court is a term descriptive of a sham legal proceeding in which a person's rights are totally disregarded, in which the result is a foregone conclusion because of the bias of the court or other tribunal. The bill of attainder. But they're all bills of attainder. It's all bills of attainder. All of their statutes are bills of attainder because there's no such thing as a judicial court. They're all bought and paid for clerks masquerading as judges.
What's a bill of attainder? Can you define that?
Well, here, this is what the courts say. Actually, the courts and the law dictionaries. Right here. A bill of attainder means any legislative act, no matter what their form, that applies either to named individuals or to easily ascertainable members of a group in such a way as to inflict punishment on them without a judicial trial. Well, so think about it. Like the Tax Act, for example. I've already shown that it wasn't a judicial trial. When there's a statute involved, there's actually, it goes down here. When there's a statute involved, oh, maybe it's up here. Right here. When acting to enforce a statute and subsequent amendments to the present date, the judge of municipal court is acting as an administrative officer, not in a judicial capacity. Right? It's not a judge. It's the accepted rule, not only in state courts, but of the federal courts as well, that when a judge is enforcing administrative law, they're described as mere extensions of the administrative agency for superior reviewing purposes as ministerial clerk for the agency. Judges who become involved in enforcement of mere statutes, civil or criminal in nature, and otherwise act as mere clerks of the involved agency. So it's a bill of attainder by definition. And a bill of attainder, is one of those that gives you the death penalty. A bill of pains and penalties is anything less than the death penalty. Bill of attainder prescribes punishment less severe than capital punishment. Bill of pains and penalties is included in the Constitution's ban on bills of attainder. So they're always bill of attainder. It's always a bill of attainder.
So any petition that's filed against you, no matter what, whether it's criminal, traffic, debt lawsuit, what, unless it's another.
Well,
man,
a debt lawsuit is there's supposed to be an alleged debt. It's still, but you've agreed to it. But so then the question is, have you agreed to it? Where's the evidence that you agreed to it? They're presuming you've agreed to something. If you've agreed to it, that's one thing. But when they just assault you out of nothing, out of nowhere, it's a bill of attainder.
They're also running these courts as debtors' courts.
Yeah.
Fabricating a charge in the system, saying you owe.
Yeah.
That's unconstitutional.
Ministerial officers are incompetent to receive grants of judicial power from the legislature. Their attempts to exercise such powers are necessarily nullities. There's lots of court cases that say the same thing. You lying, perjuring, treasonous, Satanist motherfucking son of a bitch. Paragraph 37. You lying, perjuring, treasonous, Satanist motherfucking son of a bitch. Paragraph 38. Page 34. You lying, perjuring, treasonous, Satanist motherfucking son of a bitch. No disrespect to dogs intended. Paragraph 46, page 37.
How long have you been at this, Glenn?
Well, you know what, the nasty grams you mean?
Just in when you first started like realizing what was going on and studying law, how long ago was that?
Well, it was first introduced to me in about 1989. And I told the guy he was crazy, didn't know what he's talking about, and he brought out some court cases, and I thought, holy shit, if this is true, this is the most fantastic thing there is, and I had to start investigating it. And it's kind of gone from there. Mostly the most recent stuff has started about 2006 when the IRS, it was like a feeding frenzy. There was a bunch of people trying to steal my property. They were stealing my compensation. I was working at U.S. Airways, America West Airlines actually, and it wound up being U.S. Airways. I was there during the merger, and so I sued the IRS, and I took them to the Supreme Court twice, and now they don't want to talk to me, and I kind of like it that way. They don't ask, and I don't tell.
What came about with the cases that you sued them on?
Sorry?
What came about with the cases that you sued the IRS on?
Well, anytime anybody goes to the Supreme Court like us, what happens is that I told the Supreme Court right up front, I said, you don't have any right to turn this case away. It says in the rules they can turn any case away they want. I told them, you don't have any right to turn this case away, and you don't have any right to tax me. And the case was accepted, and there was no filing fee. And I got a docketing letter. What happens is you get a docketing letter when the case has been accepted. And I got a docketing. I've been to the Supreme Court 5 times, and I got 5 docketing letters. And what happens is the Solicitor General waives their right to respond, which takes away the controversy. That's the same thing that's happened in the Brunson case. but we've got some new judges there, and they said that they wanted to hear the case anyways, and so now I think things might change. I guess we'll see. This case that I got going on right now, I'm planning on taking it to the Supreme Court if necessary. We'll see. That's all I can say. So what happens is they waive their right to respond. It takes away the controversy, and then they dismiss the case, because when they waive their right to respond, they're admitting everything. Now, I know people that had their case turned away by the Supreme Court, and they don't even get docketed. So I know that my cases were all docketed, and then they got dismissed. So this is paragraph page 40, you lying, treasonous, Satanist motherfucking son of a bitch.
So you're saying dismissed as opposed to a default judgment?
Sorry?
I'm saying you're saying dismissed as opposed to a default judgment?
Yeah, well, they dismiss it. I mean, the Supreme Court works a little bit differently than a regular court because they dismissed it. That's right. I should move for a default judgment. That's a good idea.
Have you ever
Well-
tried to incorporate all of your knowledge and apply equity in any of your situations?
You know, I don't know what you're talking about. Equity is what they do in martial law courts, and I haven't seen anybody. The only people that I know that did equity wound up in jail.
It's like they were doing the wrong kind of equity, brother.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's that's martial law. The equity does exist, and that's why I sued them. Like even in this case, okay, I sued them over property taxes, and they've completely ignored everything I said, and I told them that I wanted that minor estate dissolved and liquidated. They completely ignored that. They just ignored everything, and they said that I was trying to get out of my ad valorem taxes. But it's not with prejudice, and so I got to get the order and see exactly what it says, because there might be some things I can do to recover it, at least as far as the magistrate judge is concerned. But we'll see. That's all I can say. I think that your people's confidence in equity is a bunch of crap. There's a lot of people that tell me, oh, this equity and the Universal Postal Union and on all the rest of this crap. And yet I say, well, show me, where does it say on the Universal Postal Union I can get the post office involved? And they can't come up with it. And so they're full of shit. So anyways, right here it says, you'll notice that you and your bought and paid for whores, clerks masquerading as judges, seller just us, think you own me? And that's Congress shall have power to dispose of and make all needful rules and regulations respecting the territory or other property belonging to the United States, as demonstrated by your assaulting me with your fictitious color of law regulations, by your coward border pigs and your coward Internal Revenue Service pigs and your coward U.S. Marshal pigs and your coward DHS DPS pigs and your coward city pigs and your coward sheriff pigs. All you need to do is name a date, time, and place, and I'll come armed, and we can settle for once and for all. And if they get me first, then great, because the sooner I'm out of this fucking hole, the better. Give me liberty or give me death, Patrick Henry, after witnessing a man flogged to death for refusing to take a license. And if I blow one of your pig's brains out first, then the first words out of my mouth will be, gee, I am so sorry. I thought he wanted to do a commercial transaction. And any bloodshed will be on your hands, because I should know better than to think that you bar scum would honor your oath of office, you lying, perjuring, treasonous, Satanist motherfucking son of a bitch. Reed O'Connor, the bought and paid for clerk masquerading as judge. We were all here before the universe was created, and we'll all be here when it goes away. And before God, angels, and anyone who reasons as a witness, I shake the dust of the earth from off my feet against you. And we'll be talking about this on Judgment Day, because I should know better than to think you bar scum would honor your oath of office, you treasonous, Satanist, perjuring, motherfucking son of a bitch. No disrespect to dogs intended. And there's Chisholm versus Georgia court cases. In doing this, I shall have occasion incidentally to evince how true it is that states and governments were made for man, and at the same time how true it is that his creatures and servants are first deceived, next vilified, and at last oppressed their master and maker. A state like a merchant makes a contract, a dishonest state like a dishonest merchant willfully refuses to discharge it. And so then that's the end of it. And so let's go and see what I got from the clerk. I'll show you what the clerk sent me. Right here. When I sent this to the court, the clerk sent this letter back. Your correspondence received in the U.S. District Clerk's Office on the 4th of September and the 10th of September 2020. You have more than one case pending in the Northern District of Texas, and your documents do not provide a case number. Write the correct case number on your documents and record them for filing. The document may be filed in only one case. If you want to file in more than one case, you must provide separate copies for each case. So I did. I sent several copies back for several cases. Anyways, so, I guarantee you they had that judge read it, or at least gave it to him for what it's worth. That's the one in 2020. Now let me see if I can find the other one. I got the other one here.
So you literally put all of that language into your cases?
I served it on Reed O'Connor. I sent it by certified mail right here. See, this is the second one. Actually, you're probably not looking at this one. Let me close the first one.
Well, Glenn, they can accuse you of practicing law without a license.
No one can accuse Glenn of holding back.
So here's the second one. This one is done in 2021, a year later. Let's see. I'm going to read the chat on YouTube here.
Don't miss any compliments for me, Glenn.
Well, I'm looking. They're talking about a lot of stuff. You don't owe ad valorem tax. That's commercial. Yeah, no joke. That's what I told them. And I accused them of involuntary servitude. And the judge is just ignoring it all. I mean, yeah. So I know how I'm going to do what I'm going to do with him, but I don't want to jeopardize my appeal. So I'm going to bite my tongue for at least the near term until I get the appeal going. So anyways, so let's go through the second one. This one is improved upon. And notice who it's sent to, eh? Donald Trump again. Chief Judge of the Court of Appeals. McBride, the bought and paid for whore in Fort Worth. He died recently.
Has Donald ever responded back to you on any of this?
No, he
Or are
doesn't.
you just sending it to?
But
Okay.
I can tell you that I did it. I sent one of these to, what's her name? She was Secretary of Homeland Security, Kirstjen Nielsen. I sent one of these to Kirstjen Nielsen, who was Secretary of Homeland Security, and he started coming out and bad-mouthing her. And then he ultimately fired her. So I think he reads this stuff. I'm telling you, I think he does.
Show us your letter you got from Trump when you sent him the book.
I sent
You
him
got
my
a
book,
letter
true.
back from him.
Yeah, let me find it.
I'm just thinking, Glenn, with the amount of knowledge that you have, if you took a different stance and tried to go in with equity, I think that they would be more receptive.
Whoever said something 30 seconds ago, it was robotic. Can you repeat it?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, clearly.
Okay. All I was saying is I totally get where Glenn's coming from. I think we all feel that way, especially when we've been raped over the coals by these government officials. But learning more about equity with the knowledge that he has, if he were to reframe it in such a way where he can point out their deficiencies or their blatant disregard for our rights in such a way where it's in the language of equity, I think he would have a lot more success. And that's just my personal opinion.
I think that you're mistaken. I think that the whole system is set up to, it's a long story, but I don't think that. Why is it? I'm looking for this letter. I had it last week. Let me think of where I might be able to find it. Let's look here. I'll bet it's here. Oh, here we go. Yeah, there it is. Um, There it is. I sent Donald Trump my book, and this is the letter he sent me back. And notice there's no zip code. Fort Worth, Texas. The envelope was obviously, to get to me, it was addressed properly. I'm not sure if I have the envelope here. But thank you for taking the time to express your support and send a thoughtful gift. I'm continually inspired by the generous spirit of proud Americans like you. My administration is focused on promoting freedom and opportunity so that our nation continues to thrive. I will never stop fighting for the values that we cherish. Your steadfast support means a great deal to Melania and me. May God bless you, and may He continue to bless the United States of America. Well said, Donald Trump.
Look at that signature, eh? How many? Looks like a cardiogram.
Glenn, that was not a wedding signature, was it?
I think it was. I still have
It really
that letter.
was. Okay, awesome. Because I have a few of them from him and the White House, exactly like that. But it wasn't quite as eloquent as it was to you. It was basically tell it to the FBI. Basically, what I got in 2020 reporting what he was allegedly going after. Number one, human trafficking, child and human trafficking, and number two, public corruption, antitrust, and bid rigging. He was, that was like the number two thing on the FBI website, it said. And so I was reporting hundreds of millions of dollars in antitrust and bid rigging that my father-in-law was involved in, many others. And I just got basically it was a generic thing, but it wasn't a real wedding signature. So that's awesome. You got a
He
real wedding
uses a
signature.
marker. He uses a marker. So I think it was a wedding signature. He uses a marker so that it comes out really, well. I think it was a wedding signature, but
Yeah, I had to go look real quick, see if I can find it.
Anyways, back to the nastygram. So yeah, I've seen him. I would do a criminal complaint and I'd send him a copy. I actually, before he fired Jeff Sessions, I filed a criminal complaint against Jeff Sessions and I sent him a copy. And then he fired Jeff Sessions. So I think that there's no doubt in my mind that he's working for us. So this is the second nastygram that I said to Reed O'Connor. So the paragraphs are much more concise. And this one is it's still going to be 20 pages. It looks like it's more. Yeah, it's 34 pages. So it's not as long as that other one. You, Reed O'Connor, bought and paid for a clerk masquerading as a judge, or notice that I normally say I stick to your oath of office, but you and I both know you have no intention of honoring your oath of office. So fuck your oath, you perjuring, treasonous, communist, Satanist, coward, motherfucking son of a bitch. No disrespect to dogs intended. You, Reed O'Connor, bought and paid for a clerk masquerading as a judge, or notice that if you or one of your coward pigs wants a piece of me, just name a date, time, and location. I'll come armed, and we can settle it for once and for all. You perjuring, treasonous, communist, Satanist, motherfucking son of a bitch. No disrespect to dogs intended. You, Reed O'Connor, bought and paid for a clerk masquerading as a judge, or notice that I already know that you cowards will never take me up on that because you're cowards. And do your best to make sure I'm not armed, so I have no way to defend myself when your pigs assault me and your pigs operate in packs. And it's with all your approval and consent. With the approval and consent of your bought and paid for bar member judicial whores like McBride selling their just us. You perjuring, treasonous, communist, Satanist, coward, motherfucking son of a bitch. No disrespect to dogs intended. And then I put in that court citation that we talked about earlier. In doing this, I shall have occasion incidentally. See, history's repeating itself. Anyways, you, Reed O'Connor, bought and paid for a clerk masquerading as a judge, or notice that the word PIG is an acronym. It stands for persons in government intend to perjure their oaths, which means you're a pig too. You perjuring, treasonous, coward, Satanist, motherfucking son of a bitch. You, Reed O'Connor, bought and paid for a clerk masquerading as a judge, and notice that I've never in my life breached the peace. But you and your pigs have breached the peace hundreds of times, in my case alone, with their unlawful arrests under color of law, and you perjuring, treasonous, communist, coward, Satanist, motherfucking son of a bitch. No disrespect to dogs intended. You, Reed O'Connor, bought and paid for a clerk masquerading as a judge, or notice that in absence of evidence to the contrary, I'm a Texian national, devoid of any knowledge discerning myself or volunteering myself to the District of Columbia or their government employee scam or their Social Security scam. Since I failed to be a government employee under District of Columbia codes, anyone who has a Social Security number is federal personnel, as evidenced by the Statement of Original Status. Okay, so then I go into the Statement of Original Status. So we'll pass that. But it fails to matter what I say or do. because you, Owen, and McBride and your pigs intend to assault me with your color of law codes, rules, and regulations as evidenced herein and attached hereto, because of the literally hundreds of times you and your bar member scum and your pigs have assaulted me with your color of law codes, rules, and regulations, because it's such good business for your bar member scum selling your Just Us and your so-called court, because you and McBride and Owen intend to assault me with your color of law rules and regulations, like you and McBride and Owen have done numerous times when you and your bar scum dismissed 11 of my lawsuits because I failed to follow your color of law filing fees and your color of law rules and regulations, which is exactly what is intended by Graham and his Roman cult owned and operated U.S. Senate traitors. You perjuring, treasonous, Satanist, coward, motherfucking son of a bitch. No disrespect to dogs intended. Anyways, so I got these.
I don't know. I don't know, Glenn. You're so ambiguous. I can't determine what you actually think here.
I know. I need to clarify it somehow, maybe, eh? Anyways, so this is paragraph 7, and it's talking about it's talking about the same stuff. Oh, there, 42 USC 1982. That's there today. All citizens of the United States shall have the same right in every state and territory as enjoyed by white citizens thereof to inherit, purchase, lease, sell, hold, convey real and personal property. This is talking about the 14th Amendment. And it ends, you perjuring, treasonous, communist, Satanist, coward, motherfucking son of a bitch.
Glenn, would you be willing to recount some of the things that they've done to you? Not the court itself, but the things that you're referring to with trying to steal your property, any arrests, that kind of thing, to just kind of illuminate the terrain upon which we currently find ourselves deployed if you try to stand up for your rights in this country?
Well, there's a huge list, actually, but anyways.
Well, Reader's Digest.
Well, every time the pigs stop me, I've been driving around with a Republic of Texas plate, and they harassed me. They arrested me. They did all sorts of shit. I don't really want to get into it, quite frankly. It gets me pissed off.
Let's not get you going.
So, there's Satanists. You perjuring, treasonous, communist, Satanist, coward, motherfucking son of a bitch. So I guarantee if I send one of these, Trump is going to get a copy. You perjuring, treasonous, communist, Satanist, coward, motherfucking son of a bitch. That's paragraph 12. Color of law. All their stuff is color of law.
Like, can you say that one more line? Can you say that one more time? You perjuring what? I'm just joking, bro. I like it.
No, it's very adaptable for my not my needs. So for Trudeau, I'm thinking that would be perfect. Fits him like a glove.
You perjuring, treasonous, communist, Satanist, coward, motherfucking son of a bitch. I sent one to the chief judge of the federal court, the last one. I can show you that one if you want. You communist, Satanist, communist, coward, Satanist, motherfucking son of a bitch.
I know what to get you for your birthday.
There you go.
An encyclopedia of foul language so you can increase your vocabulary a little bit for these things. Get a little more creative.
No, we got to keep consistent with that because
why
matters.
That's right. It's got to be consistent.
I think we all need to start talking like that, is what I think. These Satanists, motherfuckers.
I think that maybe, it's
maybe.
I was going to say, if we all submit all of our lawful documents into the courts, and with that line, I think it'll be a thing. Catch on real quick.
If a man be found stealing any of his brethren of the children of Israel, and maketh merchandise of him, or selleth him, then that thief shall die. Thou shalt put evil away from among you. You know what? The cops stop me. They see my driver's license, say, Glenn Fern, you're Glenn Fern, or my ID card. I'll give them an ID card, and then they basically, so they're talking about me. I guarantee you, taking my name in vain.
The only reason I was asking you to point out some of the things that they've done to you was just to illuminate, as I say, the context and what we're up against with if you try to stand up for your rights in this country, the way it's set up, or this nation with the court systems the way they are at the moment. It is absolutely communist, and you don't have any rights if you try to stand up for them. They'll literally arrest you. I've experienced some of that myself.
So I'll show you I'll show you something I recently filed, and it'll show you what they've done to me. I have an affidavit of sovereign citizen, and we can go through that if you want. Didn't we go through that last week?
Yeah, we did.
Well, so maybe you ought to go and watch last week's video. Did you ever send me last week's video?
Yes, absolutely.
I don't remember getting it. Not
The
last week's
7th.
video. Huh?
The 7th of
February? I don't remember getting it.
But I'll send it again. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, I'll forward it again.
So that's actually got the major stuff. Well, it's actually, there's a bunch of other stuff too besides that, but that's the worst stuff. They're taking reprisals against me for my political beliefs. They went and issued an intelligence bulletin saying I'm armed and dangerous. I've never in my life breached the peace. They breach the peace on a routine basis.
That was only at the border, though. You clarified.
Well, it's more than the border. It's fucking, the pigs in the courts everywhere. They breached the peace at the airports. I got harassed at the airports. I got harassed. I missed a flight coming back from Calgary because they're fucking harassing me.
This stuff is called domestic violence. They like to try and turn that around, say that, that use that term for like wife beating or something, but that's what they're doing to you when they violate your rights, whether it be the courts or the Leos that are harming you by putting their hands on you and accosting you, to all of this crap that they're doing. It's anybody that has any illusions to the contrary, you know, you won't know until you've done something like sat in one of these kangaroo courts and watched it happen to people
It happens on a routine basis.
every day.
Yes, it does. And it's not domestic, it's domestic terrorism is what it is.
It's warfare, and they're making war on we the people, and I'll show you. It's an attack against the republic itself, and we the people need to stand up and start putting it in their fucking ass.
Beautiful.
And this is actually talking about one time that I got kicked out of the Hilton because I refused to wear a mask. You, Reed O'Connor, bought and paid for a clerk masquerading as a judge, and notice that I have lots of first-hand knowledge of how you and your pigs intend to make sure I get denied due process as much as possible, and your intent that I get assaulted as much as possible, and your intent that I get kidnapped and falsely imprisoned as much as possible, and my property stolen as much as possible, and you have no intention of doing anything about it because it makes so much business for your so-called court. So you can assault me with your color of law rules and regulations and sell some of your just us, like Peggy Hayes, the food and beverage manager at the Airport Hilton Garden Inn in Phoenix on the 28th of December 2020, who subjected me to deprivation of my right to fail to wear a face mask because of the coronavirus hoax, subjected me to the associated executive orders in violation of 18 U.S.C. 242, and they conspired together to threaten me, intimidate me. You know, I just railed on that one. You fucking son of a bitch. You perjuring, treasonous, communist, Satanist, coward motherfucking son of a bitch.
You didn't wear your mask in the car, Glenn.
Get real. I didn't fucking wear it anywhere. Fuck that
I
mask.
see ball in there. I see your Roman cult god ball. Can you please read that? It's a little too tiny for my eyeballs.
Sorry?
Can you repeat that, Mary? What did you want to have read?
I thought I thought my mic was on. I'm sorry. About 6 or 7 lines down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. About that, it says your innocent blood for your Roman cult god ball. Can you read that part?
Yeah, sure.
Sentence?
Sure. It says here, I'll read that. I'll start off where it says underline here. You are in the business of creating terrorists, and you're busy helping your pigs create terrorists because it's such good business for your so-called court. And then if someone does exercise the right to defend themselves, your pigs can have an excuse to murder them and shed some innocent blood for your Roman cult god Baal. And that's exactly what you and your bought and paid for whores intend, because you've made sure and intend to continue to make sure your pigs get away with their assaults, kidnappings, thefts, false imprisonments, and murders, because it brings in so much business for your so-called court. And if I turn up dead, then your criminal corporation and your Roman cult handlers get to collect all the fake money in the Siskay trust account for GlennWinningham Fern, in my case, on deposit with the Treasury. So either way, it's a win-win-win scenario for you and your gang of lying, thieving, perjuring, murdering criminals, and it fails to matter what I say or do, because you and your pigs intend to assault me with your color of law codes, rules, and regulations as evidence herein and attached hereto, because of the literally hundreds of times you and your bar member scum and their pigs have assaulted me with your color of law codes, rules, and regulations, because it's such good business for your bar member scum and their so-called court under your color of law 31 stat 1191. I listed all that shit. Anyways, don't get me going. You perjuring, treasonous, communist, Satanist, coward, motherfucking son of a bitch. No disrespect to dogs intended. I guarantee you there's going to be one like this going out to Donald Trump, to like the chief judge, to everybody and their brother. If when they fucking dismiss that case, then I'll get the appeal in and make sure they get the appeal record and then I'm going to send them a notice of contempt. I have nothing but contempt for you and your so-called court. That's what I'm going to send them. Yeah, don't get me going. You're going to get me going again.
Yeah, there was a judge that called a realtor repentant here. So they're actually...
So this is getting to the last paragraph here. Yeah, it is the last paragraph. You perjuring, treasonous, communist, Satanist, coward, motherfucking son of a bitch. And so come on down. Make my day. If I blow your pig's brains out first, then the first words out of my mouth will be, he wanted to do a commercial transaction. And if your pigs blow my brains out, great. The sooner I'm out of this fucking hole, the better. So go ahead. Make my day, you perjuring, communist, treasonous, coward, motherfucking son of a bitch. And then the last paragraph. This document and every document I've served on you will serve on you are permanently recorded on the fabric of space-time and shall stand as a testimony against you and your pigs. Because we're all here before this universe is created, and we'll all be here when it goes away. And before God, angels, and anyone who reads this as a witness, I shake the dust of the earth from off my feet against you and your pig thugs like Jim Palomino. And we'll be talking about this on Judgment Day, you perjuring, communist, Satanist, coward, motherfucking son of a bitch. You want to know how I real feel?
You should end these things with "Have a nice day."
Yeah, maybe. Hey, have a nice day. No, I didn't end it that way.
And if there's anything, if any confusion, you can call me at this number and then have the number just be a repeat of him being called a big nasty bitch.
The number can start out as 666.
Yeah, really. See here? This is what happened here. The appellant failed to timely file record excerpts. Well, there was no record excerpts, okay, because I didn't do the briefs, because it was over the filing fee. So now what I do is when I send them, and I haven't had any trouble with it. Some other people have done the same thing, and they have the judge basically is ignoring it. But it's working for me, I can tell you that. It's probably because they're going to get something like this. Because what I do is I'll send them, sure, no problem. I'll fill out your interrogatory. As soon as you give me your statutory and delegated authority that requires me to fill out your interrogatory, and by the way, I need your statutory and delegated authority requires me to get a driver's license, requires me to get a social security number, requires me to work for the government, requires me to have fictitious sons and daughters and fictitious wife, and so I just list all that shit, right? And then I need a Fourth Amendment warrant that requires me to disclose all that information. And crickets, never heard another peep. But this is what they sent. Oh, here. This is the armed and dangerous. And this is my daughter. My daughter doesn't want me coming around because she's worried about her husband is worried about losing his security clearance. This is where they revoked a notification of threat assessment. They revoked my airframe power plant license. Sovereign citizen, quick reference. They're calling me a sovereign citizen. I got stopped at the Canadian border because of the Five Eyes. And they're fucking sharing their information with Canada. So then Canada pigs are stopping me too. Yeah, so don't get me going. And my last job was in 2015. And when I left, it was with a company called GKN Aerospace in Montgomery, Alabama. And they're owned by a company in GKN Aerospace in England. And when I left, they went and told me that it had nothing to do with my work performance, but that their corporate had ordered it, okay? Because I'm a sovereign citizen, I'm a threat. They don't want me being able to get compensation for my labor. Is that enough for you?
Use the word wages, what the Bible uses.
I don't get fucking wages. I get compensation for my fucking labor.
Well, that says that you're doing it all right to me, because they wouldn't have so much resistance if it wasn't moving mountains. So you're moving mountains for all of us, Glenn. I appreciate that.
Yeah, well, we'll see. They're getting ready. They want to dismiss this case I got right now. And and O'Connor's going to be the one that makes the decision. And I guarantee you that he's gotten those nasty grams. And I guarantee you that he's going to get another one. And so is his fucking flunky. So we'll see what happens. I got to file a response within 2 weeks of when that order was issued, and I got to go there Monday. I got to go and get a copy of that order, since they're not mailing it to me, and so then I can make sure and answer all of the. I've got a response already prepared or started, and we can go through that if you want. Let's see, what time is it? We've been going now for. Let's see here.
An hour and 45 minutes.
Well, we probably don't have time.
Granted into me, O'Connor's going down because I trump fucking Connor. I happen to know an O'Connor too, and we have royalty on both of our sides. And my mom's side trumps O'Connor's side, and I am an O'Connor, and I know for a fact that man's gonna go down. Watch, you watch, he's gonna hang.
Well, we'll see. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. If it happens, it'll be because there's a neutral third party that investigates it and proceeds. But I guarantee you that I'll be sending a nasty gram out, and he already knows that. I guarantee you. And I'm surprised that Hal Ray even did what he did, but maybe they're just testing me to see if I'm just going to roll over, and so we'll see. I'm going to file this notice of objection to the findings of fact and conclusions of law, and so we'll see. That's all I can say. But I'm going to set it up for the appeal.
But I don't wish that on anyone. You've given ample opportunity for him to, make peace and do the right thing. And like you said, he's a sick son of a bitch. No offense against dogs. He's treasonous and he's praying to the wrong one. He's a traitor. Therefore, he has to, hang high until dead.
I agree. What I'm hearing, what Cliff High is saying, is that on the 26th, sometime around the 26th of this month, there's a lawsuit between some corporations, and it's going to come out that the bonding company that issues the bonds for all of these courts has been doing it in fraud, and that none of them are valid, and the courts are going to be stopped from proceeding, and the clerks will be sitting there and the judges will be sitting there, and they won't be able to do any business, and that'll go on for about 2 weeks, and then somehow they're going to resolve that matter, but meanwhile the courts still will not be able to proceed. And Cliff thinks that that's maybe where we go back to common law, and so I hope so. But prior to 1901, They used to hang judges on a regular basis, and it all stopped because of this code of law for the District of Columbia. They started bonding everything, and so you know what that'll mean is that means that judges will start getting hanged again, and I'd be looking forward to seeing that.
Things used
They do
to
have an option for a
too.
firing squad.
Well, we're
In the
all in
Bible,
dreamland. They say that insurance companies are banks, right? So the banks are broke, the insurance companies are broke.
well, and then also in the Bible it says you're supposed to hang them on a tree, you're supposed to take them down before sundown. So that's why the hangings always happen in the morning. So they hang there all day and take them down before sundown. So what it says in the Bible, and that's where Christian common law comes from, is the Bible.
What they did to Christ too. He had to be removed. It was a Friday, and that's going to be the Sabbath, and you can't hang anyone on a Sabbath, so they had to remove him before sundown. That's where Joseph of Arimathea comes in.
Right.
Used to hang kings
So
too.
anyways, so I'm not done with my my notice of objection, my brief in support of the notice of objection. So probably the best thing to do is maybe we'll go through it next week. By then I'll be done and I'll have it filed too. But
Okay.
but so they have that. I'll show you the. Let me see here.
Hey, Glenn, before you go, I've been dying to ask you what you thought of Trump's nationalizing the sheriffs. What you think that means?
I hadn't heard that actually.
Well, that's the word I've got. There's, I believe, an executive order. I can't name it right off the top of my head, but that he nationalized them, and I have my own opinion about what that means. But you know, everybody's got their own opinion, so maybe you'll come across that next week or something. You'll have an opinion.
I haven't heard that. So this is the this is the Armed and Dangerous Intelligence Bulletin that was issued by the Texas Department of Public Safety in 2020. And it was because I sent the Montana Highway Patrol a notice and demand and told them I had a right to resist an unlawful arrest with lethal force if necessary. So notice that it's the all block capital letters name, which is the minor estate. And so anyways, and they went and redacted this right here. I redacted the stuff up top. They redacted this right here because their pig is a coward. Anyways, so then this is the Sovereign Citizen Quick Reference Guide issued by the FBI. And here's the letter that I sent to the Montana Director of the Highway Patrol. And it's about 10 pages. 15 pages, something like that. Anyways, says here, I have the right to resist an unlawful arrest with lethal force if necessary. as found, and then I go through the court cases. The principles apply as well to an officer attempting to make an arrest who abuses his authority, transcends the bounds thereof by the use of unnecessary force and violence. An illegal arrest is an assault and battery. The person so attempted to be restrained in his liberty has the same right to use force in defending himself as he would in repelling any other assault and battery. Each person has a right to resist an unlawful arrest. In such a case, the person attempting the arrest is in the position of a wrongdoer, may be resisted with the use of force as in self-defense. And there's actually, this story is talking about mutiny on the Amistad. And the Amistad was a slave ship back in the 1840s where the slaves revolted and killed everybody except for one guy because they didn't know how to sail. And they demanded they take him back to Africa. And the guy sailed in circles off the coast of Virginia until the U.S. Navy found him, and they brought him back and put him on trial for murder. And that went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court dismissed the murder charges and ordered them sent back to Africa. Said they had every right to do what they did. And it says here that in the event that one of your hired thugs attempts to unlawfully arrest me, and I assert my right to resist that unlawful arrest with lethal force if necessary, and your hired thug kills me, your hired thug will be guilty of murder, and so will you. So he obviously didn't like that, and he got together with the Texas DPS, and they issued this intelligence bulletin. And it's caused me all sorts of harassment. I got stopped down at the border, down by on I-10 at Sierra Blanca, Texas, about 8 miles west of Sierra Blanca, Texas, and on the way to El Paso. It's about 100 miles east of El Paso, and they drugged me. They physically drugged me into their office, and then after about a half an hour, they told me I could leave. And that's only one of lots of stuff. I went and I got delayed. I missed my flight in Montana, or no, in Calgary, coming back, and there was a friendly customs official there that knew about people like me, and he was friendly. He was a nice guy, and he told me that I needed to do a FOIA request with the U.S. Marshals. And so I did, and I got 500 pages back of mostly stuff that I'd been sending out to these government officials, and they've been sending it in saying I'm a threat. Anyways.
The Canadian Border Control was a nice guy.
They're a bunch of border pigs. I got lots of YouTube videos about the Canada border pigs. So it's the Five Eyes Alliance. It's not just Canada. It's England too. It's U.S. If I went to Australia, I'd have the same problem in Australia.
New Zealand and Mexico.
I don't know about Mexico. Mexico's not part of the Five Eyes Alliance. It's UK, Canada, U.S., New Zealand, and Australia. That's the five. I don't think I'd have any problem in Mexico.
Isn't it through the IMF also, through Basel, Switzerland, and they're in Mexico and in Ireland? I just learned that.
What?
Through the IMF, through Basel, Switzerland. They're also located in Mexico, Hong Kong, Ireland. There's a few of them all over the world. So maybe you will have a problem in Mexico.
Who's located in Mexico and all that?
The International Monetary Fund.
Well, they're in just about every country on the planet, and I doubt that would be them. It's the Five Eyes Alliance that they go and share information, and as far as I know, that's where it's coming from. I know it's Canada, and I know it's UK. That's what I know for sure, and so anyways. So I break it off in their ass. They're going to make it so I can't get a compensation for a labor contract? No problem. I'll research and I'll break it off in their ass.
That's biblical too. It's called a petard. It went up the wazoo and out the mouth. And that's how they hung him in the Bible. Petard. Look it up for real.
So anyways, I guess that's about it for today. We've gone a couple hours, so and we'll hopefully go through the notice of objection next week after I get it filed. Right now, I got it at 10 pages. I'm thinking I might have to take it more, which means I'll have to put a table of contents and a list of authorities, table of authorities. They have all these technical rules that make it difficult, but if you don't do it, then you'll get stuff like what I got from the Court of Appeals, where we didn't get a record.
You know, Glenn, I always ask you, where do you post this? Could you post this? But I don't think this one could be shareable with my sensitive nature of my case. So I'm not going to ask for this one. Thank you, though. I think it's great, but I have they've got my CPS little darling in their custody, and if I give them something like that, I don't know if it works so well in my favor.
Yeah, well, it's appropriate at the right time, but it's not appropriate unless it's the right time, for sure. I would agree there 100%. You have to, you got to build a case against them. You don't want to be bad-mouthing them and screaming and yelling at them until you have something to scream and yell about.
Absolutely. We look forward to getting the replies back next week and hearing more on what you put in exactly. I'm looking forward to that. But no, your nasty grams was kind of fitting for how I'm feeling tonight. So I appreciate all of those.
It's appropriate at the right time, but otherwise I don't normally use them. I only use them as an exception. I can tell you that what happened was, in my case, I had the Bedford police. I sent them a notice and demand, and they ignored it. And about 9 months later, they arrested me and did all sorts of shit. So then I sent them a nastygram, and when I sent that nastygram, I sent a copy to Donald Trump and to the FBI and the Texas DPS and U.S. Attorney, and I heard later the mayor told a friend that the Texas Texas Commission on Law Enforcement raided the Bedford Police Department and fired everybody in there except for 2 people, and they can't even use their own jail anymore. So I think that was because of what I did, but I have no evidence. But again, I think that Trump reads that stuff, and so we'll see. That's all I can say. I have no idea. I think that Trump gets that stuff and he reads it, though.
Yeah, I call that the napalm approach. Notifying everybody.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, it's one of the things I say in there is, if you or your pigs want a piece of me, just name a date, time, and location. I'll come armed. We can settle it for once and for all. And I tell them at the very end that the same stuff. Okay, is that the sooner I'm out of here, the fucking better. And I basically challenge them to a gunfight. And so, I want to make sure there's lots of witnesses, because if I turn up dead, then there'll be an investigation. See what I'm saying?
Yep, old-fashioned duel.
Yeah, and then they're not going to get you on practicing law without a license. You're not playing the same games they are.
Yep. I've never had any trouble with the practicing law without a license. You got to be doing it for someone else. Doing it for yourself, there's nothing they can say about it. It's when you go in and try and represent someone else in their so-called court that. But there's actually a friend of mine that does that, and he gets away with it. But he's got to be careful. He's got to understand that he can only do it under certain circumstances, and you can't do it for money. Okay, so when you do it for in exchange for something else. See what I'm saying?
Can you see you're just an advisor?
Well, they won't. I don't think he goes in there and says he's an advocate. That's what he does.
The Constitution says you have a right to counsel of your choice. Does not say you have to have an attorney.
I agree. But these are bar member courts, and they're nothing but a bunch of thieves and pirates.
I agree.
What if the other person gives you power of attorney to do so?
Sorry?
What if the other party gives you power of attorney? Would it be okay then?
I doubt it. I mean, that doesn't make any difference. He's tried that before. And there's a thing in the Texas codes now that says that they practicing law without a license only applies if it's in civil litigation and in like a personal injury or property damage. That's when they can't do it. Okay, so he brings that up, and all of a sudden, he's sometimes they let him do it, but it all comes down to their codes.
From what I gather, it's also the bar card, and that they have copyrighted all of the codes. That's their stuff, and you're not allowed to use it.
That's patented.
Yeah, I don't dispute that they're copyrighted, but they don't have the right to use that against you.
I agree, but they think of us all as U.S. citizens. One of theirs.
They presume.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, anyways, I guess we'll knock it off for today, and we'll see you guys next week. Same time, same place, same channel.
Okay, that sounds good. I will get in touch with you during the week and talk to you more about when I get my book, and because I'm not going to be able to put it down. And then I look forward to talking to you more next week, and I won't sound like this, I promise. So have a good weekend, and thank you for bringing all that sweet Valentine Day-ish kind of information to us tonight.
Yeah. Don't get me going.